What is up, you amazing people? It's Nima here, and today I want to talk about a game that I almost missed. A game that has recently released, and when I say recently, I mean within the last few months, 6 months or so. It's a game called the Thaumaturge. And this is definitely one of those instances where I've not heard of the game, but I happen to be just searching through deals and sales and stuff on the PlayStation Store, and I saw this game. I actually saw the screenshots and was like, hey, this actually looks kind of cool. And then I started reading about it. And then that's when I really got interested in it. And with the sale going on, I was like, why not? Especially for a game that did drop in 2024. I would say the latter half of 2024. Why not grab it? And I'll let you guys in on just how important this game has been to me by letting you know that this is not something I planned on doing. In fact, I've had a few videos lined up before this, and one of those is a review on this RPG that dropped recently called Neo Fantasian, which is amazing. Like, absolutely chef's kiss amazing, and I really want to talk about that. So the fact that I leapfrogged all those videos to talk about Thaumaturge can maybe give you some insight on as to how much I've wanted to talk about this game. But before we do talk about this game, please hit that like and subscribe button. Help this channel grow. Maybe at some point we can be popular and people will like us. But honestly, I'm not holding my breath. But, help keep the dream alive just by clicking a few buttons. Anyway, the Thaumaturge is a game where you play as the main character, Victor. Now, you have this ability to be able to talk to these creatures called salutors. Now, what they are actually are flaws, are demons that hide in other people. These flaws, they cause people to act different. They can be a lot to handle. They can be something that steps out as an imperfection and then even grows to be something that controls the majority of their characteristics, driving some people to be really angry, other people to just be really reckless. Without the ability to train them or have them tamed, they can be incredibly dangerous. And this is one thing I really like about the game, is because it's already making this note about mental health. And as you see in the game, many of these demons show up after something traumatic happens, or after somebody has made a mistake, or even exceeded in something. Now, some are just born with them, but the point is some event typically follows these demons being manifested into people's psyche. And again, they can be very dangerous. But you are a Thaumaturge, and you have the ability to tame these demons, talk to these demons, actually make friends with them. You have this unique ability that you can also use these demons in fighting, in actual physical fighting, where they can attack your enemies by going after those weaknesses, by attacking them in ways that they can't see. And even though they can't see the attacks, or even maybe feel the attacks physically at the moment, they add up and can do a ton of damage in your favor. But we will get back to that when we get to the actual combat. The problem with your character, Victor, is that you're sick, and you're unable to connect with your salutors the way you were before. And so you are trying to find a cure. You're trying to find a way to heal yourself. And the only thing that comes to mind is this well-renowned healer who has some very interesting techniques on how he heals, namely through hypnosis. Although at this point, taking that sort of risk is your only real option. So you travel to a village that you've never been to before in hopes of finding and tracking down this healer. Well, it just so happens that you're able to find him a lot easier than you thought you were. Now, once he tries to heal you, you find yourself in a delusional dream where you actually see your father and connect with him a little bit. But more importantly, you connect with your initial flaw, your initial salutor, and you're able to communicate with him again. You finally feel healed, and as you wake up, you announce that you're feeling so much better. Although the healer, Rasputin, doesn't believe that he actually cured you all the way. Now, one of the ways that you're going to figure this out, though, is by traveling around in this village and finding people with a flaw. You see, there is an issue in this village, and there is a lot of turmoil going on. And this begins one of my favorite things about the game, and this is where you get to do some actual detective work. You walk around, you collect clues, you talk to people, and really, you're just trying to hone in on the individual who has a flaw. The one that they're probably trying to hide, the one that they're scared of. They probably think they're going insane. They don't know how to control it. So you need to collect your evidence and then approach them in a tactful way. But at some point, you might have to push that demon out of them by just well, irritating the crap out of them to the point where they have no control over that demon and it attacks you. That is when you're able to actually connect with the demon. You're going to have to fight him and beat him down. But at that point, that's when your connection can begin. And this salutor, this demon, will then usually join you. Now, I'm not gonna ruin any like plot points or anything like that, but you're able to handle the problem in the village, and you get word that your father has passed away. So it's time to head home back to Warsaw, where you will see your sister and attend your father's funeral. Rasputin, feeling that like he doesn't feel comfortable in your abilities yet. In fact, he actually knows that you're not fully healed. During your last engagement with a Salvatore, with the demon, he actually had to come in and help you because you gotten weak during the connection, during the encounter itself. So he decides to travel with you back to your hometown. Now, this is really when the game starts to kick off as far as story plots, and there is a ton of things that happen. There is just so many different characters you meet, you interact with, you find out some crazy stuff about your past, about your father's past, and this all culminates into an incredibly engaging, fun story that I just absolutely loved, honestly. One of the things I really liked about it was that it didn't just tell you the story, you got to interact with it a lot. In fact, the pacing and engagement was a thing that really kept me going because there is a ton of interesting things, but for me, if I'm just sitting there reading constantly, I can sort of disengage with a game. And not only do you make a lot of choices in this game, in fact, that's one of the main mechanics of the game, you also slide in a lot of combat, which also feels fresh and just kind of a nice change of pace. Now, the combat itself is actually really good, far more than what I thought it would be, considering how much work that they did on the story, the writing, the kind of interactions and dialogue that is going on in the story. You always figure there's going to be kind of a downside, and combat is typically the one, especially in a lot of turn based games that don't really pronounce that they are like full on RPGs, if you know what I'm saying. But I was actually really impressed with the combat because the way that you use your salutors, your demons, if you will, is a lot of debuffs and a lot of building up damage over time. Yet at the same time, some of your demons can actually just throw out some great damage numbers, and you don't really have to worry about the buff debuff thing too much. Although it does come up because typically these matches are longer than what you'd expect them to be, and you, as your own main character, are not that strong. Like, you will do some damage at times, but you will notice that your damage goes up significantly when you pair it with one of your demon's abilities. And there's just a lot of different ways that you can actually approach the combat in the game, and that's what really makes it a lot of fun to me. I had so much fun just in that aspect, let alone the story and wanting to know more and wanting to push more, wanting to find out more. And yet, in the background of this game with a great combat system and a really engaging story, is actually a really beautiful city and a lot of environments just with a lot of depth. Even if you are somewhere where it's kind of considered the slums or squalors or something, there's just so much depth to even the NPCs that are walking around or the streets themselves and the things that you're going to find and see there all make for this great environment to collect information, to do your detective work, as it were, as well as find and stumble upon other little things that I really enjoyed, like music. Like, they had some Chopin, some Douglas. There was a lot of great composers from that time frame, and I think it just really helped put together this environment. And as well as, well, give you a little bit of experience for finding it. And it's kind of insequential when it comes to the game, but it really just helps like pull you into this world. And also to aid with that task is the voice acting and the actual soundtrack and music in the game. But the voice acting is done really well. And I think that there are some moments in the game where some situations wouldn't hit as hard if not for the voice acting. So I definitely appreciate that, as well as, like I said, music, visuals, performance, all of those things were done really well, especially for a game that I hadn't really heard of. And so that's why it surprised me so much. The other thing that I really liked about it was the playtime. So I beat the game in about 23 hours, and I think you could do it quite a bit quicker if you weren't running around checking out side quests and doing that kind of thing. But I do think that it does fall into like that 18-hour mark, which for me is perfect. It's just enough to get me engaged in the story and enjoy it, but not overstay its welcome. I played so many RPGs lately that if you're not hitting that 80, 90 hour mark, you're not beating the game. And at some point, you just want out. Like, okay, I enjoy it and I love this situation, but at the same time, it's a chore to go back to this world. Can we just be done? Like, that happens quite a bit with me, especially as I'm reviewing games and playing them almost to complete them. And so when it comes to a game like this, I love that kind of 20-hour mark. It's just perfect for me. Ultimately, this is a game that I would highly, highly recommend checking out if you can. Hopefully it comes to more systems in the future. And if I was going to give this game a number score, I would give it a 9.3 out of 10. It's almost a perfect game in so many ways, but anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know if you guys have checked this out, or if you played it, if you're interested in it. Any and all comments are really appreciated. I love each and every one of you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.